Hi, everyone, and welcome back to In the Chair with Dr. Gina Conversations Beyond the Chapter. This is episode 8 Why This Work Still Matters. Well, we've reached the end of our time together. When I sat down to record these conversations, I honestly thought we were going to spend a lot of time talking about telehealth. And we did, a little. But somewhere along the way, I realized we're talking about something much bigger. We talked about access. We talked about judgment. We talked about ethics, preparation, listening, safety, presence, professional identity. And underneath every one of those conversations was the same question. What kind of counselor are you becoming? Not what grade did you earn? Not did you memorize the regulations? Not can you recite the informed consent process? Those things are important, but they aren't the reason people come looking for us. People don't seek counseling because they need another expert. They come to counseling because they're hurting, because they're discouraged, because something has happened on their planet that they haven't figured out how to carry by themselves. And for a little while, we get invited to carry it with them. With them. In that special way that counselors can be with their clients. I still find that extraordinary after all these years. Think about it. Think about it. Complete strangers tell us things they've never told another living soul. They trust us with memories, with grief, with shame, and with hope. With dreams they've almost given up on. This is an incredible privilege, and one that I hope never feels ordinary. You know, people ask me sometimes if I ever get tired of being a counselor, and my answer is always the same. I get tired, but I don't get tired of people because people continue to surprise me. I've watched individuals rebuild lives that they were certain were over. I've watched marriages recover. I've watched parents reconnect with children and children reconnect with parents. I've watched people grieve unimaginable losses and somehow rediscover joy. I've watched discouraged people remember their own strength. I've watched counselors in training become remarkable clinicians. I've watched students who doubted themselves become the person another human being desperately needed. That's what keeps me here. Not the paperwork. Definitely not the paperwork. Not the documentation. Not the insurance companies. The people. It's always the people. Now, if you've spent any time with me and you've made it all the way to episode 8, I think it's safe to say you have and probably know I'm not going to leave without mentioning Adler one more time. One of my favorite Adlerian ideas is encouragement, not praise. We refrain from praising our clients because it can encourage a blurring of boundaries and validation. Encouragement, that's the difference. Praise says, you did something. Praise says, I believe you did something wonderful. Encouragement says, I believe there's something wonderful inside of you. One depends on performance. The other speaks to possibility. Adler said, things can always be different. And if I had to choose one thing that I would hope you carry with you from our time together and our conversations, it would be that. It would be that your clients are going to remember many things about you. They'll remember if you were organized or on time, if your technology was good or crappy, whether your documentation was thorough. All of those things matter. But years from now, what they'll remember most is much simpler. They'll remember how they felt in your presence, whether they were judged or accepted, whether they felt rushed or understood, whether they felt alone or accompanied. That's something technology can never replace, because counseling has never been about screens or offices or paperwork or theories. Those things support our work. They're not our work. The work has always been one human being saying to another, I'm here. I'm listening. We'll figure this out together. And whether that happens across an office, across a screen, or someday through technologies we haven't even imagined yet, I don't think that will ever change. As I reread Adler this summer, one sentence has really stayed with me. He wrote that human beings flourish when they feel their place in the larger human community. I think counseling at its very best is one of the professions that helps people find their way back to that community, back to belonging, back to courage, back to hope. So wherever your career takes you, whether you work in a hospital, a school, private practice, community mental health, the VA, a college counseling center, or somewhere none of us can predict, I hope you'll remember this. Never let the technology become more interesting than the person. Never let the paperwork become more important than the relationship. Never stop being curious. Never stop learning. And never underestimate what can happen when another human being experiences your full attention. That special way of being with that only counselors can do. Thank you for allowing me to spend these weeks with you. It's been an absolute privilege to have a seat beside you. And who knows, maybe one day our chairs will be side by side at a conference, or we'll be colleagues, or you'll teach the next generation of counselors. I certainly hope so. Until then, keep learning, keep wondering, Keep showing up. And as we say around here, I'll meet you back here in the chair.